What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the EP by Pitbull. Basically, this is an expansion to Pitbull's 2012 album Global Warming, and it's called Global Warming Meltdown. And this came out in the fall of 2013. Now, this had a #1 on there. Like, Pitbull was doing pretty well already in 2012 and such, but this particular project, Pitbull was doing pretty well already in 2012 with Global Warming, had a number of hit singles off there and was charting really high. EDM was really popular and he was capitalizing on dance music and that type of stuff. Just a lot of good times in that sort of sense. But this album was kind of like an in-between because Pitbull took a year off basically in 2013. He did drop this EP of a project with 5 new songs, but he really didn't drop his follow-up album to Global Warming until 2014 with Globalization. Now, the thing about it was in 2011, Pitbull hit a pretty high pitch with Planet Pit. That was an excellent album and had a #1 on there that it was with Neo that really charted throughout that whole summer of 2011, and then he capitalized on it in 2012 with the number of EDM and dance hits. And that was kind of the thing, like EDM was ravenously popular 2011, 12, and 2013. That was kind of the stuff. But really, when I look after it, like it's not so much obvious, but there's kind of a pitch of being able to tell that EDM was starting to kind of wear down a bit by way out in November 2013. Now, I figured that Pitbull probably made these songs throughout like the summer and early fall of 2013, but I just kind of look after it like, I mean, it's pretty awesome that Timber hit #1 on the Billboard and that type of stuff. But I just can't think of too many EDM songs after this song Timber that really crested with that EDM type feel. By the time we got to like February, March, April 2014, it felt like EDM kind of dried up. But it's just kind of the concept that Pitbull was definitely a cresting one of such a vibe. But I look after this as a pretty good pitch of a project. There's just a lot of good stuff to kind of talk about on here as far as that kind of goes. So Global Warming is another album that I recommend to be checked out if you haven't by this stage. It's just talking about that. It's chock full of dance cuts. Just an excellent album. When I eventually review that, it's probably going to get a pretty rave score. But this EP, Global Warming Meltdown, is definitely going to get a rave score too. It's that good. 5 songs. This is a great example of how to do dance cuts and that type of stuff. So I'll go ahead and talk about the single, and we'll get to this. So the single off of Global Warming Meltdown. The song that kicked off Pitbull's late 2013 promotion cycle was Timber with Kesha. So Kesha was kind of getting back into the spotlight after a kind of lackluster reception for her 2012 album Warrior. This was a good hit to kind of get Kesha back in the spotlight, and it's also pretty good for Pitbull just because this is like a very late in like the popularity cycle of like EDM and stuff. This is kind of where like I feel like songs like Feel This Moment were really good, and some of the stuff that like Miley Cyrus and like other like David Guetta type folks were doing throughout 2013. But yeah, like I was saying, I really feel like EDM kind of was starting to really wear out and dry up by the time we got to early 2014. I just can't think of too many songs. Like Pitbull did try some EDM somewhat with Globalization, but it just didn't hit as heavily as it did on this project and Global Warming and Planet Pit. But this is an excellent song. I feel like Timber is a very excellent song, deserved to hit #1 on the charts. It's a country pop kind of tinged party highlight, and it's just it has a stellar commercial hook on here, and it's just a late EDM kind of hit. This really works extremely well. Brilliant, just kind of overall feels of it. I do like the kind of country pop feel of this song. It's just definitely one for like karaoke bars and just a more country oriented. I feel like the country feel of this song suits this song somewhat. There's just not been a ton of songs that have really pulled off this particular vibe quite as well. You just don't see songs like Timber very often anymore. Like you'll get country songs, but they don't have like the kind of riveting and more up-tempo kind of edge of this particular song. So this is one that I would like to see folks like Jason Aldean and some of those type cats do. Florida Georgia Line, this would definitely work in their favor to get like a country dance type tune, something like that would be really excellent. This is just an overall kind of ace in the hole from Pitbull that I just wasn't expecting. I think a lot of people probably weren't expecting either. It just kind of came out of nowhere, did its job, and was a good fall of 2013. Just an overall kind of good winter hit. This is like a good song for like cooler weather and that type of stuff. I mean, I suppose it could be summer, but it definitely it was just a great timing of a song for like the winter of 2014, fall of 2013 and such. Just really worked well. But yeah, to kind of talk about the rest of the songs on this album. So out of the 5 songs on here, which would be Timber, That High, Do It, Sun in California, and All the Things, like I liked all the songs. So this EP is going to get a 10 out of 10. I'm not going to review the songs with Global Warming. I'm going to review Global Warming separately because there is the deluxe edition of that, and I'm just going to review all 16 of those songs separately. But this EP, this 5-song EP, gets a 10 out of 10, and I would have to say that all these songs All 5 of the songs on the EP work extremely well. So a good song on here is All the Things. A good song on here is All the Things. This is a poppy, breezy day makeshift tune. It's SFW and it's a commerce tune. I feel like this is a good example. This is like some morning and kind of day commute Pitbull, where he was starting to crest into that territory in the early 2010s, showing up on shows like Kelly and Michael and Good Morning America and that type of morning commute. So he was kind of starting to crest into blue collar and SFW kind of territory, and this is just a good example of that. It's right by the beat. This has such a lackadaisical and a lot more SFW and kind of poppy type feel of it. This is definitely pop rap. Doesn't quite have as much the dance club in mind. I mean, it is kind of jivey. It's a very breezy and jivey kind of tune, but it does feel one of the most SFW songs on this 5-song EP. I feel like Timber and All the Things are probably the good examples of that. But I feel like if you like Timber but you want something a little bit more rap oriented, I would have to say that High with Kelly Rowland's a good example of that. This is just a very hazy and leery evening dance EDM type beat on here. Has a great hook by Kelly Rowland. She does a great job. Pretty much on par with Timber by Kesha, just kind of in a more dance-oriented, less country type tune. And it's just a stock kind of dance club hit. I feel like this is just an excellent one. This is the sort of stuff that Pitbull was kind of cranking out on the regular in the early 2010s. It's a great example of that. Just another kind of vanilla kind of EDM type tune. This works pretty much in unison with the rest of the stuff that Pitbull was doing around this time. Just very hazy, good song to smoke to, just a good concept of just a song for just stepping out and kind of some evening fare. I'm glad that Pitbull packed the project with some of these. That's 3 for 3 for Pitbull as far as that kind of goes with just the hits that I've listed. Sun in California is a mellow kind of mid-tempo dance bop. Has a nice piano beat on here. It's kind of sullen sounding. It's looming, but it has like a melodramatic kind of feel. This is kind of one of those ones that like David Guetta would do, or just kind of has that dramatic pitch, like kind of like Pitbull's Give Me Everything, that just has like that dramatic, you don't know what's going to happen type feel as far as that kind of goes. But I just look after this is a good example of just kind of a melodramatic tune that just kind of has like some good mellow dance bop about it. It's just a real nice one. I really like the kind of lazy piano beat on here. Maybe not quite as riveting as Timber and That High, but it is a good another song to kind of step out to. It has its place as far as the format for what it does. I think it's a good effectual one also. And then Do It's kind of an and then Do It is another excellent one. This is coffee shop and bookshop fare. I would definitely say it's a fancier tune, but still has a good tempo about it, and it's just some good bookshop kind of jive. Has like a real nice kind of mid-tempo, kind of relatively mellow, but still kind of jivey enough kind of piano beat on here. It just has a good effectualness as far as that kind of goes, but it's just kind of one, if you're at like a Barnes and Noble or a bookshop or Panera Bread, something like that, just to kind of have like a little bit of spark where you're not quite just nose deep in a book, just kind of zoning out, but just kind of the concept of just a nice little pep of just maybe you're getting ready to just pick up a book, something like that, and then go out and have a good time, get some coffee, some of those type moments. Just a more, it's not necessarily blue blood, but it is kind of more suave and just kind of like fancier type one, just a little bit more smarts about it, I would have to say. I do like the concept of Pitbull kind of lightly doing like some will.i.am and like Lupe Fiasco type tone as far as that kind of goes, as far as that kind of went, I just would have to say. So yeah, it's some good example. Pitbull covers a lot of bases on here. I think what I ultimately wish is maybe there just would have been like another song or two, something like that. I mean, for what it is, it's an excellent variation and it expands upon global warming quite a bit. But what I would do is I would just get the global warming deluxe edition and then just get this Meltdown EP, just because both renditions are pretty excellent. I'm eventually going to review the original global warming, but this is like a good shot in the arm. I wouldn't pass this up as the #1 single on here. I definitely recommend. Like Timber is very infectious, easy kind of hit, deserved to hit #1. It's a great stepping out and dance tune. That High is a good follow-up to that, even though it wasn't released as a single. It's a great follow-up. It's a more good dancing pitch. Do It is like a good coffee shop kind of tune for some jive. Sun in California is a more melodramatic kind of dance tune for just the more slow dancing, mid-tempo kind of feels. And then All the Things is like some good blue-collar SFW kind of after work or during work kind of fare. So it's just got some good moments. Really did kind of make me want some more songs. But yeah, this EP gets a 10 out of 10. The social score I'll give a 10 out of 10 to also, just because all these songs hit. Pitbull was in his prime, and he was doing things excellently. So it's just a good kind of jive. Pitbull was just doing things excellently, just kind of went through it, and it was just kind of excellent little pickup as far as that kind of went. This is kind of an overlooked project nowadays. I mean, I think occasionally on the semi occasion, I think you'll hear Timber, but for the most part, because this project didn't really have a second single, it kind of feels like this project kind of came and went somewhat. I mean, really, the very next year we got Globalization, which just didn't quite chart as heavily, but this was definitely prime Pitbull. If there would be something to complain about, it just would be the fact that this was such a pitch Pitbull, and this was a real capitalization of him cresting on the hits that he had with Planet Pit and Global Warming. This is too bad that the promotion cycle of this project was just not higher. I think that high would have easily been a nice one. Pretty much any of the other 4 songs could have been a brilliant second follow-up single, but it just kind of, I think pretty much any of the other 4 songs on here could have been a good second single to follow it up with, but he just kind of pulled his punches a little bit and just accepted the #1 and then just kind of went along and got on to the next project, which is too bad because this was an excellent project. But yeah, so it gets 10s across the board. Just would have to say excellent little project here. Definitely recommend it. Something you don't want to miss out on, that type of stuff. So in terms of the future, like Pitbull has dropped a number. In terms of the future, Pitbull has dropped a number of projects. It's been a while since I've checked in with Pitbull. I mean, the last real projects I remember by him was Globalization from 2014, and I think maybe he dropped an album in 2017 or something like that, but I'm going to have to get back to some more of these. But yeah, I definitely recommend this.